Alright. Hi, I'm Swyte, and I'm going to be showing you how to easily, or at least fairly easily, defeat King Slime. Or a way that I think works for that. This is obviously opinion-based, so some things you might want to do differently, and that's fine. Some people might disagree with what I'm saying, and that is also fine. The goal of what we're trying to do here is be able to beat King Slime with the most convincing way that we can, without overly powering ourselves up, having like rare drops or anything. Just things that you would normally be able to get without a struggle, all being put together and used in a fight like this. I might make this into a series, it really depends. Other boss battles in this series might be different, like it might be about just what can you get at the stage of the game, but for King Slime, it's generally before you would get as powered up as you possibly could at that point. You're just, fighting the first boss in the game, and it's generally not too difficult. So I have a little bit more HP than you might normally have. I tend to spend a lot of time down in the caves before fighting any bosses, and I've beaten the Eye of Cthulhu on this world as well. This also is just a random world I was playing with my friends, and I don't have a main world to use or anything, so I figured why not. But first, let's talk about our arena. So this is a minimalistic but very good arena for King Slime, in my opinion, and probably for some other beginning bosses as well. So you have 3 rows of platforms, and I think 3 rows is kind of what you need to be able to dodge around him and stay away. You could also make one long runway for this, and I think that would also work really well, but I just don't like to do that. I prefer to keep my boss fights in like a smaller area. And then you can see that we have these platforms all the way down the sides of the arena, and those are to grapple to, because I am using a grappling hook, and that is what I'm going to be recommending for this, because these platforms would be a little bit hard to jump to if you didn't have a grappling hook. And I think it's fair to say you should get a grappling hook before fighting the King Slime, because I think that grappling around, it's much faster than other forms of movement that you have at this stage of the game, and it is really imperative to a lot of bosses in the beginning and probably later stages of the game too. So I'm just using an emerald hook. The gem hooks aren't that difficult to get. You can get a topaz one or amethyst one pretty easily. Emerald isn't that difficult either, especially if you can find a spelunker potion early, then you can really just get one as soon as you pop the Spelunker Potion, because gems are really all over, but they're hidden inside of stones and stuff. For our buffs that we're going to use for the fight, we have Iron Skin, Swiftness, Regen, and Archery. And I think these are all easy to get. You generally will just get them in either chests or pots that you break sometimes, I think. They're really common, and you're bound to get one just by running around your world and opening the overworld chests or chests underground as well. I have Spectre Boots and this Guarding Royal Gel in my inventory. I'm trying to limit my stuff to things that you would get before King Slime, and while this isn't necessarily a thing that you'd get before King Slime, a lot of people will fight him before they have more than 200 HP. Before the Goblin army spawns in, they will try to fight King Slime, and then is when you can get the Goblin Merchant. So I have taken those off, and I've instead put on a pair of Hermes boots, taken off this because obviously you wouldn't have it until you beat King Slime, and put on some shoe spikes. And then for our other accessories, we kind of just have random accessories that I've picked up, and I think that's a fair way to do this type of video, because at this point you're kind of just going to be using whatever accessories you've grabbed. So, a quick drop into the jungle might get you some Feral Claws. These are just found in the caves. Traveling merchants here, cool. You're not needed right now, bud. Cloud in a bottle you'll find in caves quite commonly. The red balloon and the horseshoe you will find on floating islands, but I think that gravitation potions are actually fairly common as well. You can probably just get them from pots. I know you get them fairly often from chests, and then they last for a decent amount of time, so even if you just get 2, you have a pretty good chance to get 1, 2, or even all 3 of the items from the floating islands that I'm using. And that would be the shiny red balloon, the horseshoe, and Star Fury. Star Fury is not the main weapon we're going to be using, but it is good for clearing out the slimes that King Slime spawns, because it'll keep them away from you, knockback. It'll be able to hit more of them more easily, and yeah, so Star Fury is, I think, fair as well, and good for fighting the King Slime. And our main weapon is going to be the Tendon Bow. While you could do this with a silver, tungsten, platinum, or gold bow, and you could do it, I think that the Tendon Bow is fair, and it's better than the other ones to use, because it has a pretty decent boost in damage, and all you really need to do is get a platinum pickaxe and then find some crimton ore underground, which is really not that hard, and then you can just make a tendon bow right off the bat. You could use grenades for part of this fight, or for a lot of the fight. Also, excuse my messy inventory, this is just a playthrough character, so I'm not bothering with clearing everything up, but anyways, you could use grenades because they're high damage, but they're kind of hard to hit sometimes if you're trying to really stay away from him. And I'm not sure, I just don't prefer using them, but these are very strong early game against the bosses as well. We do have Frostburn Arrows. These are the arrows I'm going to be using. These are probably what you should be using. These are, I think, the best arrows you can get at this stage in the game, because they have 9 range damage, and they inflict Frostburn, which is a hefty upgrade over fire arrows, which do less damage, and the on fire debuff does not do as much as Frostburn does. And for additions to our arena that I've added, I have added campfires, which are easy to craft, just need wooden torches, give you extra life regen, and then I've also added a couple of sunflowers down here. And while they don't do a ton, they do increase your movement speed, and if you don't have Hermes boots at all, and even if you do have them, you don't move that quickly unless you are, you know, running, and that takes a moment to start up. You're not going to have that much movement speed, and it's kind of difficult to move around the King Slime, except for the hook. You can probably do without these perfectly fine, but they're really easy to get, and they just give a little bit of a movement speed boost, so I think that it's pretty good to have them, just because. Free boost, nothing negative to use, so pretty good. I think I've covered everything that you need. I do have the armor, too. I have full platinum armor. I think you could do this with the tier below this, silver and tungsten. You could do it with gold, because it's the same level as this. You could probably do it with iron and lead as well, but I don't know. Platinum's kind of difficult to get. Maybe it's a little bit over the top for the King Slime, but I generally just try to get to this before I fight any bosses, because I would just want to have a lot of protection, and that's just me. So yeah, you don't need all of this, but it is definitely helpful. This is the setup that I think will work very well against King Slime, so I think with that, we're just going to start the fight. And let us summon him. Let's put on our buffs first, so these 4 buffs. Get those on, and then we're going to have to summon the slime. there you go. Oh, jeez, he just chopped out like freaking a million blue slimes when he died. Okay, I didn't even end up using Star Fury at all, really, in that fight. As you can see, it's not that difficult. I hope that this helped someone. This is a pretty easy setup to do, and it is very easy to fight against the King Slime. You could even put more platforms if you wanted. You could put 4 or 5 layers of platforms, and then you'd really be able to dodge him extremely easily. You wouldn't be able to spawn enough slimes to fill up the platforms, so you could just really jump around him without having to worry about anything. And so, yeah, I'm sure that there are better optimizations for this, but this is just what I found effective, and I think it's quite easy and simple to get these items, and yeah. That'll be all for today, you guys. I hope that you did enjoy. Hopefully this helps you if any of you are struggling with this boss at all, and I will see you all in the next one.